are 40 million SMEs as of the last count in Nigeria, and together they contribute about 85% to Nigeria's GDP. But interestingly, only 70,000 of those SMEs employ more than 10 people, meaning that most SMEs in Nigeria are essentially one-man shops. Why then do SMEs fail? Studies have shown that only 20% of SMEs actually outlive the first generation of owners. There are a few reasons why, one of which is a lack of accountability. So my name is Bisi Adeyemi. I'm the Managing Director of DCSL Corporate Services. Here are my top 5 tips on building a sustainable business that outlives you. Tip number 1 is to have a business plan and a strategy. You cannot do business without having a clear business plan and a strategy. And in developing a business plan and a strategy, it means that you have done your competitive analysis. You've looked at what's happening in the market. You're not the only person in that business. What are your competitors? What are they doing? And that business strategy has to have milestones. So you're going to have milestones as to the first few months, the first few years, and then that strategy also has to be reviewed periodically. A business plan and a corporate strategy is critical. The second tip is to have a board of directors. And in this regard, I would like to just give an example. So a few years ago, a friend of mine approached me and said that he was approaching his 65th birthday and was going to begin to wind down his business and his involvement in his business, and wanted to hand over to his children essentially. And he approached them separately and said to them that, well, you know what, I'm approaching my 65th birthday and I would like you to start planning to come back to Nigeria and come and take over. Both of them turned him down. So we sat down together, we decided that it was appropriate to set up a board. And the kind of phenomenal changes that happened in that business, well, it's better imagined. He set up a board, the board began to help him set up structures, internal control, internal audit, risk management, and all the things that the board will require. So his accounts started having to reflect actual figures because the members of the board would not want to have their name sullied. They have a reputation to protect. After a year of setting up a board, his son joined. But the interesting thing is that he didn't join at the very top. Another mistake that SMEs make. He started at the very bottom of the organization. So he went through the entire organization and now is the general manager. This is 5 years after. He's not on the board because the board has enabled him to put in place structures. Tip number 3 is to put together a great team. A team that is qualified for the roles that you're going to have them fit into. And when you have put together a team, it's important that they're well motivated, they're well remunerated, and it's not about salary alone. There are little things that you can do. The other day I was saying to an SME owner that how it's about buying lunch for your 2 members of staff, and she said that's a lot of money. Do you know how much that will come to? But by the time we sat down and did the math and said, well, if you do that for a period, this is how much it's going to come to per month. First of all, they feel that you actually are concerned about them, so they'll be concerned about your business as well. Another thing is to now then train them. You have a team of 5 and you think it's going to cost you the earth to train them. But something as basic as customer interaction, how do they interface with customers? And you can find somebody who has the skills to come and do an implant training for them. There has to be a proper performance appraisal system that will ensure that people are measured based on the work that they perform and their productivity levels. Tip number 4 is to know the life cycle of your business. At the beginning of the business, you start and then you reach peak performance. That's where everything seems to be booming. The business is doing very well. And after a while, it gets to a maturity stage. It's at that point that it's a deciding factor. It's either the business becomes a large business and really does grow beyond that phase, or it begins to topple. So that's when you now then have your clients are no longer satisfied. You don't meet up with your orders. That's when you now then need to go back to your business plan and the strategy that I have defined at the beginning, and now then take a decision. Do you still want to continue with that business, or do you now then want to take a curve? And then of course you now then need to innovate and move to the next level. Tip number 5 is succession planning. You can't but plan for succession. When we talk about succession, people have a natural intention to think that, oh, we're talking about succession for the owner. No, it's to identify that critical role in the organization and make sure that there's somebody else who can fit into the role in the event that something happens. And I always like to say that it's not necessarily something bad that would happen. So you as the owner of the business, you get appointed minister. I mean, it's national service and it's a good thing, it's not a bad thing. So succession planning is critical, and a lot of the time entrepreneurs fail to plan for succession. Succession planning that is actually detailed, that identifies the critical role and then begins to train and mentor those people or that person that you have identified as a potential successor, either to the role of CEO or to some other important role in the organization.